in our series on discipleship, we've seen that we've been called to discipleship, that Jesus has said, come follow me and learn from me to be his disciples. We've seen that there's a cost of discipleship, that is to follow him that costs us. It's, salvation is free, but it doesn't come cheap. And discipleship is costly to follow him. That the purpose of discipleship is to become like him, to be changed, to be transformed into the image of Christ. And that's the very purpose of discipleship. There's of course, as Spencer mentioned earlier, it's not just about doing first, but it's about being children of God. And from that, our doing comes about. We've also seen that there are limitations that we have in our discipleship. We need to know our godly limitations on our lives, and that we have to have boundaries in our lives. But sometimes we also need to break through limitations to fulfill God's purposes in our lives. And those are some of the aspects we've spoken about. I'm sure I've left one or two out. But today we're looking at discovering the treasures in grief and loss. And many times we go through grief and loss. And no one is spared grief and loss. Maybe it's not even if it's not a loss of a loved one. And most of us, if not every one of us here, have lost someone with it sometime, and we have to go through that, and there's loss. But loss isn't only about that. Loss is losing a job. Loss can be a break of a close relationship. It's loss. Loss can be a theft and a theft of valuables, and sometimes not just valuables that are worth a lot in monetary value, but sometimes the worst losses are things that are stolen from us that are sentimental value. Losses can include many things besides losing a loved one. And we all have to deal with that. And when we disciple someone, we have to be aware of that. And sometimes that aspect of it, and the pain that people go through, is overlooked in our discipleship. And we need to understand that people are going through stuff in our lives, burdens and things that they carry, and that needs to be part of our discipleship, our personal discipleship, as well as the discipleship of someone we are leading and teaching and taking through discipleship, the discipleship process. Sorry, yesterday my voice really crashed out, and it's a lot better today again, but still not 100%. So hopefully I'll be managed through today. In his book, Discipleship Pain, God's Classroom for Growth, Sam Chan writes, pain isn't the enemy. The inability or unwillingness to face pain is far greater danger. He then tells the story of Dr. Paul Brand, who was treating a 4-year-old named Tanya at the National Leprosy Hospital in Caldwell in the United States. As he examined her dislocated ankle, he noticed that she appeared bored and felt no pain at all. She was diagnosed with congenital indifference to pain, a condition similar to leprosy. Years later, he learned that Tanya had lost both legs to amputation and most of her fingers. Her elbows were constantly dislocated, and she suffered sepsis from ulcers. She chewed her tongue so badly that it was swollen and lacerated. Her father abandoned the family, calling Tanya a monster. Dr. Brand writes, Tanya is no monster, only an extreme example, a human metaphor really, of life without pain. Pain is there given to us for a reason. You know that people, due to contrary to belief, that people don't lose their limbs from leprosy. Do you know that? people, what happens with leprosy is people lose their feeling. And they damage their limbs, and through that damage, they lose their limbs, and so on, because they can't feel pain. And so then they lose their limbs. And also, by the way, leprosy, contrary to opinion, is it's not contagious either. And our friends in India, I mentioned before, used to go work in a leprosy colony, and when he used to get to the leprosy colony, he used to give them all a big hug, the same as he'd give anyone else a hug, and he'd tell them, to let them know through practical, just a practicality of hugging them, that they are important and they were something, because the world had shunned them, the world had put them in colonies, the world had put them aside. And he is saying that he's willing to give them a big hug to know that they are loved and accepted. But what I'm saying is pain is given to us for a reason. If we don't have pain, we will cause more damage to our body. We will put our hand onto a hot stove and keep it there. And that happens when people don't have pain, and then they lose their hand because they've damaged their hand so severely because they can't feel pain. God gave us pain for a reason. And we need to know that pain is not the enemy. And 2 Corinthians 4:16-18 so we do not lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day, for this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. As we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. Transient means temporary, they will pass away soon. So the first thing about grief and loss is that we need to acknowledge the pain. Acknowledge the pain. And acknowledge means to accept, admit, or recognize something, or the truth or existence of something. And many times we try and deny. When we face loss, grief, we go into a state of denial. That's normal. And that we should not do that. We should acknowledge the pain that we're suffering. Acknowledge what we experience, and acknowledge that something has happened to us that is painful, that is traumatic, that is, and we need to deal with that, because the first response is normally denial. That's not admitting or accepting it, to say, no, it didn't happen, it's not real, I don't want you to know the truth of what is happening to me. And maybe when I got over it, I found that it didn't really happen. And those are types of responses that people go through when they've experienced that pain and loss. Now the problem with the faith and healing movement is that it teaches people to deny their pain and loss. You know, the faith and healing movement, because what do they say to people? To a sick person, they say just claim that you're healed, and even though they're still sick. That happened to me. And I remember years ago, I'm not sure where it was, I remember it happening. And I was sick. I had some pain somewhere in my body. I can't remember what happened, but I remember them praying for me. And they wanted me to confess that I'm healed. And I wasn't healed. I still felt the pain, and I said, but I still feel pain. But they didn't want me to accept that. And when I kept acknowledging that I still accepted it, still had pain, then they turned it on to me and started saying that I'm the problem. It was because I don't have faith, because or there's something in my life that's hindering the healing. But what I was really doing is just acknowledge the reality of what I was experiencing. You want me to say that I've got no pain, but the fact is I still have pain, I still feel that pain. I'm not going to deny the pain. You see, and the faith and healing movement wants you to deny what you're really going through. To say, to claim your healing when you're not actually healed. And that's dangerous. friends, are very dangerous. We need to acknowledge if we're sick that we are sick. Because Jesus doesn't do half measures. If he's going to heal you, he will heal you. And when he heals you, then you can claim your healing because he's already healed you. If someone is in a wheelchair, and when they stand up out of their wheelchair, they can confess, yes, and claim that they have been healed by Jesus, but until such time they haven't actually been healed. That's a fantasy. That's something that's a hopeful thing. God doesn't heal everyone, and we're going to get to that, and we'll see that through this. To a person who has suffered the loss of a loved one, they say, do not grieve. Don't worry about grieving. Be joyful because your loved one's in a better place. The Bible never tells you not to grieve. You know what the Bible says in 1 Thessalonians? It says, do not grieve as those who are without hope. In other words, it says, grieve, but grieve in hope that you will grow up to. But it doesn't say do not grieve. It says do not grieve in the same way as those without hope. And many people just take that first part and say do not grieve. And that's taken out of context. That says do not grieve as those without hope. Because those without hope, yes, will grieve very differently because they're in a hopeless situation. They do not know that their loved one is with the Lord in this actually a better place. We do grieve, but we grieve in hope. We grieve knowing that our loved one is in there. We still acknowledge that it is still painful. We acknowledge that we have lost our loved one, but we still grieve. So do not ever let someone tell you not to grieve when you have lost someone. To a person who has just lost his job, to confess that they are prosperous because God is Jehovah. When the person, Jehovah Jireh, when the person might be in the brink of losing his house and his car and everything else. My friends, God is Jehovah Jireh. He does provide. Do not let him just confess something and not acknowledge his loss. The person, yes, he knows it in his head. God is Jehovah Jireh. God is our provider. He knows it in his head. But his experience right then is telling him something else. And we need to realize that that person needs more comfort and more standing with than just theological treatises and saying, that they need to just move on with life because God will provide. Sometimes we need to actually be the way that God provides. And sometimes we need to say, are we willing to stand with him in such a way, provide for them rather than tell them that God is Jehovah Jireh? If we're not, then be careful of how we counsel someone who's just lost everything. Because we're so quick with the theology, but so slow with the practicality. You see, when someone needs right then the practical help and not just the theological ideas, theology is right and true and correct. God is our provider. And sometimes he needs us to come alongside someone who has suffered loss, not just to tell them to move on with it. And that loss of a job. Many people are terrified to acknowledge the pain as they feel guilty that they've lost their faith. And often churches such, you see, that is the problem with the faith and healing movement. Because of these kind of responses. And so many times, how many times won't people, because they've been judged then of lack of faith or something's wrong in their lives, that they don't want to come back for prayer? Because when things haven't gone right, or we're having not just their healing when they're still actually sick, and they've been judged for it, then next time they don't want to come for prayer, and rather sit in their seat, because they're scared and have fear of being judged again. And we need to be careful in our discipleship that we don't let people feel guilty because they're going through pain and loss, and just because they acknowledge it. And we need to allow people to acknowledge their pain and loss. And we ourselves, if we're going through it, we need to be free to be able to acknowledge it, to accept it, to admit it, because in doing so, that is the way. Another problem of dealing with pain and loss is that we see it as an interruption to our God's purposes instead of seeing them as an integral part of it. And sometimes we have to speak to God. This is just interruption. I wasn't always somewhere, and now I'm being interrupted. Sometimes we have to acknowledge this is a part of what God is doing in my life. I can't see why. I don't know why I don't have a better way, an easier way. Is it an interruption or is it an integral part of our life? What about the Israelites who were in bondage to it in Egypt for 400 years? And which was part of God's plan for them to be formed as a nation. This was prophesied. God, that didn't take God by surprise. In Genesis 15:13, then the Lord said to Abraham, know for certain that your offspring will be sojourners in the land that is not theirs, that will be servants there. And they will be afflicted for 400 years. God had prophesied that they're going to be afflicted. In other words, they were going through their suffering, and the loss wasn't an interruption to them as a nation. It was part of God's, an integral part of their plan to form them as the most steadfast nation on the planet. A nation that has withstood trials throughout and has still stood firm. Israelite nation, whether we like them or hate them, it's a fact. They were formed through the furnace of the fire. And they were formed in such a unity to be one nation. It's suffering. What about the Psalms? The Psalms are full of the sufferings of David. We look at David as this great king of Israel, the greatest king that Israel has ever had. We read his Psalms. My God, where are you? I cried to the Lord in my suffering. I cried to the Lord in my pain. David went through suffering, went through loss. Before he became king, he fled as a fugitive from Saul, and his life was in danger. There were attempts on his life all the time. And he wrote down his experiences. Psalms full of sufferings and pain and loss. David was admitting and accepting his pain. He wasn't denying it. He was saying, God, where are you in this? He said he wasn't in denial. He said, my heart is for you, God, but I'm suffering. I'm going through turmoil. Why do the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer, Lord? What are you doing to me? Where are you? He's admitting his pain, he's accepting it. And he's even crying out to God. Father, what about Jeremiah? A godly, a righteous prophet. A prophet full of pain, suffering. And he even wrote the whole book of Lamentations. The whole work of Lamentations is lamenting that the destruction of Jerusalem. But why is he doing that? He himself was there. He had empathy around the people of Jerusalem. He had people on Jerusalem as God's city. Because he himself went through the pains and suffering and loss. He himself was thrown into a cistern. And yes, he suffered persecution. And he admitted it, you see. He wasn't a prophet in denial. He didn't say, no, I'm a great prophet, I'm a righteous prophet. And righteous people don't suffer pain, and if we do, we don't admit it. No. We see the righteous people of the Bible. They admitted the pain, they accepted it. And they said, Lord, this is what I'm going through. This is the problem of my life. The Messiah himself was prophesied as a suffering servant in Isaiah 52 and 53. In chapter 52, verse 13 and 14, behold, the servant shall acquire thee, shall be high and lifted up, and shall be exalted. And this is when we all say, amen, he is going to be exalted. But of course, that only comes afterwards. What about the next part? As many were astonished at you, his appearance was so marked, beyond human resemblance, and his form beyond that of head of the children of mankind. His appearance was marred beyond appearance, and so that he was whipped, he was scourged, he was tortured, to the point that is almost unrecognizable. So the glory only came after that. We like to stop and say, look at the glory. You see the pain and suffering of our Lord Jesus not only took upon his cross as God's primary purpose of him becoming man, but he made it an essential requirement for his followers to take up their crosses to follow him. His going to the cross was the purpose of God, an integral part of his life. The cross wasn't an interruption to his life, but it's the very purpose that Christ came. And he said of his followers, also take up your crosses and follow me. Matthew 16, 24 to 25, then Jesus told his disciples, if anyone should come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Lord Jesus was saying that pain and loss will be part of life when we follow him. We need to acknowledge and embrace it not as an interruption to it, as a fundamental part of it. And likewise, when you see other people going through pain and loss, we don't just want to get over it and get on with life. We walk the journey with them for it. You see this, we need to be patient in the times of confusion. The time between grief and illness can be very confusing, a very confusing time. People who suffer from grief and loss, suffer trauma that disorientates them, leading them into a time of confusion. And we even see this in the apostles at the time when Jesus died, or after Jesus had died, in Luke 24, 36 to 38. As they were talking about these things, Jesus himself stood among them and said to them, peace to you. But they were startled and frightened and thought they saw a spirit. And said to them, why are you troubled? Why do your doubts arise in your hearts? Doubts, you see, doubts. Doubt means, what is going on here? I mean, we thought he was going to come and be a liberator. We've grown so close to him. He loved us. We loved him. Now he's gone. What is going on here? Was this really real? Is this real? Is he really gone? Time of confusion. So that's what happens to us in this time of trauma. Confusion and how normal in the in-between time between grief and wellness. James 5 says in verse 10 and 11, as an example of suffering and patience, brothers, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. Behold, consider those blessed who remain steadfast. You have heard of the steadfastness of Job, and you have seen the purpose of the Lord. The Lord is compassionate and merciful. And he sees and tells us in the in suffering, we need to be patient. There needs to be a patient endurance, a perseverance through this. And even Job was an example in extreme pain, extreme loss. If there's any example of pain and loss as Job, he lost everything. But he was patient. He didn't make brash decisions in this time of loss. Patience is essential at this time. Although it is hard, it is, as it is what we want to, because we want to get out of the pain and loss as soon as possible. We need that patience. The fact is that our lives can never be the same again, depending on the loss of what our loss was. Our lives might not be the same again. We might not go to the time as it was before our pain and loss. Patience helps us take time to navigate the way forward. To say, God, I need you right now, and I need you to direct my steps from here. I need you to be, as it says in James, to be compassionate and merciful, and to lead me out and to lead me forward. It says that I'm willing to put everything on hold until I can think of a rational way forward from where I am, until I can find God's direction. Patience keeps us from making major decisions when our emotions are still reeling from our losses. The worst time to make major decisions is when you're in the middle of pain, when you're in the middle of loss. Sometimes people do the craziest things in the middle of pain and loss and trauma. They're not in their right mind. They sell their house. Why? They don't know. To buy what? They don't know. People have done that. People have lost a relationship either through death or breakup, and then they jump into another relationship trying to fill that void. And the new relationship is a bad relationship because they haven't thought through it. They're just trying to fill that void, so they run to someone else to try and fill that void. You see, major decisions are bad times. It's bad to make major decisions in the in-between time of confusion. But you have to be patient. Hold on. Be steadfast. Don't make any decisions, big or small, maybe small ones that are needed. But especially major decisions, a new relationship, of doing something major, a change of life, a change of job. That can be just because you're not sure what you're thinking about. And afterwards you regret it because you're doing it, not because it's the right decision, but because you're trying to make sense of life. So be patient during this in-between time. Impatience and making major decisions can make things far worse than they already are. Abraham was impatient, and his son Ishmael and Hagar, and it turned out to be a source of more grief than anything else. Moses took things into his own hand and murdered a man. He thought he wasn't deliberate, but he wanted to do it his way. And he's impatient and ended up killing a man. That's what impatience does. We need to be patient in these times. Psalm 41, 1-3 says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. In other words, he's going through a time of distress. I waited patiently for this Lord in this time of distress, and he heard my cry. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God, and many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. You see, when we wait patiently for the Lord to lift us out of the miry bog, out of this clay, for the Lord to lift us up and put us on secure ground, for the Lord to make the way right ahead. When we wait patient for Him, He will make the way in the right way, that in the end He will put that song in our heart, you see, because we haven't been impatient and we haven't made the wrong decisions. We've been patient for Him to hear our cry and to lead us out and for Him to restore us. Therefore He will put a song up in our mouths, a song of praise, because we trusted Him even during time of confusion. We say, Lord, I don't know what's going on here, but I trust you. And then, of course, we see that out of that, life comes out of death. And out of death to bring life. John 12:24. Truly I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls to the earth, it dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Pain and loss, out not without its treasures, although they're hard to find at times. Pain and loss do have its treasures. 2 Corinthians 4:7-9-10. But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, confused, but not driven to despair, persecuted but not forsaken, struck down but not abandoned, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may be manifested in our bodies. You see, we have a treasure of Christ within us. This jars of clay, and through this pain, through this loss that is broken away, for Jesus and more of Jesus to be manifested through us. And that treasure is within us. We already have it. And as Jesus endured the pain of the cross to break the power of sin and death over us and give us life, so our pain and loss can also be a blessing to others. Our heart ourselves are broken, so that treasure of Christ might touch the lives of others. I don't know if you've heard of Tony Erickson. Tony Erickson she's in her 70s now. When she was 17 years old, she was paralyzed from the neck down in a diving accident. She dived into a river, and that was shallower than she thought it was. She claimed her healing. She prayed for healing. She was never healed. She's been in a wheelchair since she was 17, paralyzed from the neck down. You know what? We thought that God would be glorified with a testimony of healing. But you know what? God has been glorified through her being in that wheelchair all her life. She has touched the lives of so many disabled people in this world, throughout the world, by her being in that wheelchair and motivating disabled people to say there's hope even within your disability. You see, she was healed. All those disabled people throughout the world all their life would not have had the same hope, because they would have thought they were useless. There's nothing for them in life. But she has given more hope to more disabled people within her disability. And God saw it fit not to heal her, that she can touch the lives of millions within her disability. You see, in her pain and her loss, she has brought hope to millions. Corrie ten Boom, that I spoke about many times, because she's one of my fans, spent a few years in a Nazi concentration camp. Through her suffering and pain, she brought hope and healing and wholeness and allowed for forgiveness throughout the churches of Europe and beyond, throughout the world, in fact. A Dutch woman who went through the pain of suffering and loss, but after that, God has used her from her experience. God uses, why does God use another way without pain and loss? We wish we knew. We wish there was a better way, but that isn't the way God works, and we just sometimes don't understand it. Isn't there a better way? You see, people out in the world who suffer pain and loss identify with pain and loss. And so, of course, He uses pain and loss for us to minister to them, because we know that there's an empathy, we know there's an understanding of someone who's been through it. And we wish it wasn't the way. Another thing that pain and loss teaches us values. What do we really value in life? What do we really value in life? That's those things that are transient, that are temporary. Or that which is eternal. You see, pain and loss really gets us to reevaluate our values in life and say, Lord, I value what's eternal, because that which is temporary can be taken from me any time. And so pain and loss, the treasures of pain and loss, is that it can be a blessing to others, but it also tells us what our true values are, to reevaluate and to reprioritize our values, that we can put out the values and focus our values of life on what really matters, not only to us, to God, to us, to our families, to our friends, and to the community around us, to the world. Because in that way we'll make a difference. So my friends, let's embrace and find that there are treasures in pain and loss, but we need to accept our pain and losses, be patient in the times of in between, and allow death to bring about life, because there is life afterwards, through life, that we can touch the lives of others as well.